that the whole reason we wanted to start it at the beginning of the school year was in particular because you guys are going to already be getting busy. Your schedules are going to kind of start taking shape. And what I wanted to do is try and encourage you to include rest as part of your schedule. Start building that into your routine right now, then you will be able to have a better sense of it later on, and it will be better for you during the rest of the year. So, anybody happen to remember anything that we talked about last week with rest? The Sabbath? Yep. What?
TV time.
TV time? Yeah, yeah. That for some of you guys, that was your rest. Yeah. What else?
What's that one word that it has the rest that we said to use?
That was Sabbath.
The Sabbath.
No. Yes. Good. Good. Yeah. Now there's the Sabbath day, and then there's the Sabbath year. So every seventh day was to be a Sabbath day, and every seventh year was to be a Sabbath year. And what do you do on a Sabbath year?
Rest.
Rest. No work.
I wish we had.
Do you harvest your fields?
No.
No. Do you do any kind of work?
No.
No. And why? What?
Because rest.
Okay, you're resting. Huh? Okay.
Because God rested on, Jesus rested on that day, you're supposed to rest on that day too.
Okay. Well, Jesus is God too, so he would have rested that day as well. But okay, but there's a particular reason. There's a particular reason that God asked them to rest on the seventh year.
Because he rested on the seventh day?
No, that's seventh day.
Is it because they could trust him to provide?
Bingo, right there.
Right.
Because God wanted them to understand that he was going to provide for them. Because they're going to go a whole year without harvesting. That also meant that on year 6, you guys that have been farming, you guys understand how this works. That you got to start prepping for year 7, right? Before year 7 starts. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. So in other words, they're not prepping for year 7. So that means as soon as the harvest is done on year 6, that's it. There's no plans to seed. There's nothing. Okay? And so this is kind of one of the things we talked about when we mentioned the Sabbath was that for the ancient Israelites, Sabbath started on the day before as soon as the sun set. Okay? So Sabbath was Saturday, but because they wanted to make sure that they were preparing for it, the Sabbath started Friday night as soon as the sun set. Okay? So, anything else that you guys remember?
Well, I also remember, I was here, but
Right.
I also do know, because I study a lot of Hebrew stuff, that every festival or day that they had that was a party or that God commanded, like Day of Atonement or something like that, it's the same way with the Sabbath. You were supposed to do nothing except praise God or pray or whatever.
Yeah.
Which meant that the day before the day, you prepped, and some of those festivals lasted for weeks.
Right.
Or a week.
Yeah.
So they had to, trust that God was going to provide for that week, but a year is longer, obviously, but still.
Yeah. No, it's good. Okay, so we talked about how God commands rest, and he talks about it in Genesis, kind of like what Reagan was saying, that he created the heavens and the earth, and then on the 7th day he stops from his work. And so it was kind of this reminder to us that if God felt the need to stop working, then obviously we should feel like it's okay for us to take a day to rest, to not work, to not fill our schedules and try and take care of things on our own, but to rest in God's promises. And then it becomes one of the 10 Commandments as well in Exodus 20. We said it was more than just sleeping. We said that it was time spent with God, trusting in God to provide the rest, or provide during the rest, as you guys already pointed out. We talked about Sabbath and Jubilee. And the main thing that we left with last week was that we need to remember that it's God who provides and that we need to take time to rest. So this week what I want to do is this, and we're going to do this week and then we're going to circle back to it next week. I'm going to set a timer, and during that space of time, I'm going to set it for 5 minutes. Actually, you know what? because this is probably going to be the first time for a lot of you guys, I'm going to set it for 2 minutes. And I want every single time that during this moment of silence that you think of something other than what I tell you to think of, I want you to just start counting that. All right? And then what we're going to do is I'm going to have your names on the board here, and then we're going to circle back. So the next week, what I'm going to encourage you to do is during this week, I want you to continue to practice this during the week, every day, just 2 minutes. And then next week, we're going to circle back and see how you do. All right? So
we count how many things we think about in this 2 minutes?
Wait,
yes.
what are we thinking
Oh,
of?
All right.
okay.
The-
Like,
What are we thinking of?
what
Yes.
do I say?
We're going to say,
Shepherd.
Shepherd.
I shall not want.
Alright.
That works.
Alright? Simple enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we're going to take 2 minutes, and I just want you to you don't have to like shout it out, go, woo! Okay? Just as you think of something other than the Lord is my shepherd, or if you kind of continue, if you know the rest of it, you kind of continue with that, whatever, but just say that phrase, repeat it, just continue to repeat it, but every single time that you think of something other than the Lord is my shepherd, I want you to count it. Alright? Whether you just, physically hold your finger out, or if you just kind of keep track in your mind, alright?
But if you keep track in your mind, you keep
Okay, so
Well,
wait.
try and just count it on your finger with your.
So
Keep
these
track.
are like scriptures?
No,
Huh?
we're just,
There you
no,
go.
Okay.
Anything.
so in the 2 minutes, you're just gonna blank out, you're gonna think of all the different things you're like, mind comes to.
Alright.
That's gonna be a lot.
Exactly, that's the whole point
That's-
of this
yeah, that's-
exercise.
that's the exercise.
Okay.
Alright, so let's see. Maddie.
Chicken.
You can't count.
Biscuit.
And how you spell your name?
K-A-U-L-L.
K-A-U-L-L. Okay.
No, listen to him. K-A-U-L-L.
K-A-U-L-L.
Okay.
K-A-U-L-L. Okay. Zach. Zach, is it Z-A-C-H?
No,
There's a Q in there.
Say what? Z-A-C. Okay. Alright. Jeff.
I'll let you spell it however you want to.
Okay.
I'm here.
Aiden.
I participated. Yeah, you spelled my name right.
Hayden.
No.
Weston. David. Vincent. And Reagan.
You spelled my name wrong.
Did I really? Okay, how do you spell it, Caitlin?
No, it's not.
It is C. That's right, right? Okay. Alright. Okay, so,
So we're trying to think about the most.
You're not trying to think, you're
No.
just like.
Trying to think that passage right there.
That's true.
If you
Yes,
think of
okay.
something other than the Lord is your
Alright.
shepherd, you can.
listen,
If you
listen,
think of the word pizza, you're like, oh.
alright? Listen. Alright, I can tell this is gonna be especially difficult tonight. Okay, so, all I want you to do, is just repeat in your head, the Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd.
Okay.
The Lord is my shepherd. And at any time you think of anything else besides, the Lord is my shepherd, you're going to count it. Okay? So if you're going, the Lord is my shepherd, the Lord is my shepherd, touch tomorrow. The Lord is my shepherd. I got bit. Oh, the Lord is my shepherd, okay? That's the idea here. Alright?
That's gonna be
The only
so
thing I want you to think about right now, the only thing I want you to think about for the next 2 minutes, as soon as I say go, is this. Alright? So take a second, close your eyes. It'll be easier if you close your eyes. Less distractions.
You can tell, honestly.
Less distractions if you close your eyes. Okay? Because otherwise you're gonna see something doing something stupid and you're gonna go, oh, oh. Alright, take a second, close your eyes. Take a couple deep breaths real quick, alright? Alright. Alright, deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Start. Alright, so now I'm going to go around the room and I want you to tell me your number. Kobe?
6.
6. Alright?
What?
Don't open the hand. Alright.
That was funny.
Like 13?
Third. I got to thinking of I messed up.
So
I
make
gotta
a make
think
a
about
noise like
school,
that.
like my
Kobe can't
clothes.
make a noise.
Oh, the-
I'm like,
Oh, I never used it.
I messed up and
Pizza
then I was
stuff
like,
across the wall.
and then I got thinking
That's
about
what
messing up.
I started thinking about
Okay.
songs.
Okay, Matt? 2? Okay, not bad.
Nice,
Not bad.
Daddy.
Okay. David? 5? We'll leave it at 5. Wait, Brianna?
Jane. Like
40? Okay.
I was thinking like the first day of school, I was like, what am I gonna wear? How am I gonna do my hair? I just thought
Alright. Call.
7.
7? Okay. I'm gonna clear this up myself. That's a 4, 0. Okay. Zach? 12. Kason?
10.
10. Jeff? 3. Okay. Riley? 8. 3. 5.
15.
15. Right? What? 3. 5. 5. 2. Okay. So, here is what we're going to do. Like I said, this week, I want you to take 2 minutes a day. All right? Put it on your calendar, set an alarm, whatever you have to do, but take 2 minutes each day to just sit and rest. All right? And you don't have to count it during this week, okay? So just sit and rest. And if you need to do that verse, if you want to do a different verse, you can do whatever you want to, but I just want you to sit and rest. Okay? 2 minutes. That's all I'm asking for this week. All right? And then on next Wednesday, we're going to come back and we're going to do it again, and we're going to see how we do. All right? Now, The thing is, this is not a competition. This is not any kind of like, oh, well, I didn't get 40 or anything like that, okay? Just because the number was high, I decided to use it. No, the goal is to sit there and go, oh man, I went from 5 to 20, you know? That's the trick is we just want to see how it goes, all right? Because how hard was it for you to focus on that one phrase?
For me, it was extremely hard.
Yeah, yeah, okay, and
Yeah,
this,
who is that, by the way?
that's the 1st through 6th grade class, so,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, well that makes sense.
So-
There.
Okay, here's the thing. You don't start off with this, and it's just like, bam, I got this, all right? You grow in this, all right? This is something that you grow into, and you consistently practice, and you make it a way of life. And the eventual goal, and we'll talk about this more later, is that you want to be able to be in an everyday situation. You want to be able to be driving to work and rest. You want to be able to be in your football practice and rest. You want to be in the middle of your college exams and rest. Okay? Because the idea is that we are supposed to have rest and peace in the presence of God. Alright? Okay. So, we'll come back to that next week. So, the thing to remember is that this is not something that is just today. That's just come about in our society. Okay? Like we mentioned last week, if this was something that had just come about in our society, then it might have been something that God would have referenced in some way, but it wouldn't have been an example that was actually there from ancient Israel times. So Israel finally gets out of Egypt. They're wandering in the desert. God provides them the manna, and he says, okay, don't go out on the 7th day. Collect what you need on day 6, and on day 7, anything that you collect over, because days 1 through 5, they weren't supposed to collect any more than they needed for the next day. And if they did, it was going to rot. Okay? And several people did try that. And so on day 6, they were allowed to gather more than 1 day's worth, and it didn't rot on the 7th day. And so God said, I'm doing this specifically so you don't have to go out and search for food on day 7. But in verses 27 through 30 of Exodus 16, we see, nevertheless, some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather it, but they found none. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will you refuse to keep my commands and my instructions? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the 6th day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where they are on the 7th day. No one is to go out. So the people rested on the 7th day. And what was their life like as slaves?
No rest.
No rest. They were driven as slaves. Right? I mean, they were worked. They didn't get a break. And so, God is specifically telling them, I rested. I want you to trust that I'm going to build you up, not your own abilities. Rest in me. So this is something that people all throughout history have gone through and tried to break themselves of this habit because it's the natural order of this world. It's what Satan wants us to do, is to stay so busy that we have no time to rest in God. Okay? We push ourselves. We try to do everything on our own means and trying to build our own kingdom instead of God's. And it means that we don't trust God to provide for us. Okay? And so this is the importance of this issue. Alright? So why is rest important? It keeps us close to God. The closer we are to God, the further we are from Satan. How does resting in God keep us further from Satan?
You put more trust in him.
Okay? You're going to put more trust in him. How else? Let's see. Go. Come on. Okay. Kobe is God right now. Alright? So, if I'm sitting here spending all my time with Kobe, am I doing okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I get caught up in soccer and I decide, oh yay, ah! The further I get from Kobe, from God, what's going to happen?
Weaker.
Weaker relationship,
Closer to Satan.
closer to Satan.
We use the wall apparently.
Huh?
We use the wall apparently.
You're going to get yourself in tons of trouble because Satan's going to throw obstacles like a cord in your way. Okay? All right.
Good job, Kobe.
All right. Yeah, the closer we are to God, the further we are from Satan. Does Satan want to be anywhere near God's presence?
No.
No. Okay? It's imperative that we stay near God. And if we are close to God, what are we going to notice about what Satan tries to do? Is Satan's nature going to look anything like God's nature?
No.
No. So the closer I am to God, the more I'm going to be able to sit there and go, yeah, that ain't right. I'm not going anywhere near that. All right? The closer I stay to God, the more He's working on me to transform me out of my worldly nature and into His nature. And so the more I'm able to not only notice it, but the more I'm able to not even desire it. But the further I get from God, the less I'm able to notice just how bad that stuff really is. So it's imperative that we rest. And that we don't just rest, because remember, it's not just sleeping, it's not just no work, it's not just relax. This is resting in God's presence. That's what we're looking for. Rest transforms us. Gives us the opportunity to change our worldly nature to His. And rest gives us perspective. It gives us an opportunity to reflect on the majesty of God. Okay? How many of you guys go camping? Okay, most everybody here. When you go camping, what do you usually do? Thanks.
Fish.
Fish. Okay, what else?
Hunt.
Hunt. What else?
Campfire.
Have campfires, s'mores, yeah. Huh? Eat. Yeah, we did that a lot this weekend. That's great.
Rest.
Sleep. Rest. Yeah. Hiking.
Play the
Play the river.
Play capture.
Who made the place that you're camping? God. Do you take time when you're camping to just admire, like some of us went to the retreat this weekend. Did anybody happen to just stop and look at the mountains?
Yes. Yeah.
Did anybody happen to stop and look and just sit there and think, good grief, that's just a giant rock. No, I mean, but seriously, stop.
Even though it wasn't there,
stop,
yes.
Just stop and think about that for a minute, okay? I mean, you pick up a rock outside in front of the building. How big is that thing?
Tiny. But the mountains are the same thing.
It's a giant rock, people. And, I mean, if you tried to push that mountain, what's it going to do?
So, you look really silly.
Yeah, you would. You look really stupid. Okay? You would look really weird sitting there. Somebody came up on you while you were sitting there trying to push a mountain. Because this is pretty much a mountain to me right now. Okay? I'm not that strong. Okay? Alright? Obviously, I look ridiculous. Okay? Now, if this was like some massive bodybuilder on a couch, yeah, you'd sit there and go, ugh, whatever. But for the perspective that we need, yes, you would look ridiculous trying to move a mountain. Okay? To God, it was just kind of like, nah, I want a mountain right here.
It's like, man, we need one there.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that. The way that the rivers cut through everything, the way that wind can cut through and shape stuff. I mean, when you stop and just take a moment, when you stop and just take a moment to reflect on the world that God has created for us. Think about an apple. Right? Take a moment to think about an apple. An apple has seeds in it. If all the purpose of the apple was to do was to just try and use the apple, drop the apple, plant more seeds, repeat, would an apple have to taste good? Would an apple have to look delicious? No, it just had to be a stupid seed. But instead, God created an apple, and when you bite into it, it's delicious. Just stop and take a moment when you rest to admire what God has done. When you stop and look at the sunrise, do you ever stop to sit there and actually think about the fact that it's not just a giant yellow dot moving across our horizon?
It's a giant ball of gas.
Yeah. I mean, it's a star.
Yeah, we're moving around it.
That it's this giant star. Do you ever stop to take a moment to think about the fact that we're not the only solar system in this universe? You stop to think about the fact that we're just one small, tiny piece of the Milky Way galaxy. And then at the center of our galaxy is a black hole.
That's gonna consume us someone.
All right, that there's this entire universe out there. Shh. I really want you guys to take a moment to take this into your minds, okay? Just the next time you see the sun, the next time you see the moon, whatever, that you see the world around you, you take a moment to appreciate what God has done. And even if you're not in a spot where you can look at the nature that God has given us, stop and take a moment to think about some of the things God has done in your life. If you've forgiven somebody, if you've been forgiven by someone, if someone has shown you the love that God has for us, stop and rest in the glory that is God. And that's what we're talking about right here, is that we need to take a moment to stop thinking about ourselves, to stop thinking about our troubles and the things that we go through, because honestly, it's nothing. And it feels like a lot to us in the moment. But I'm 34 years old. I've probably only got like 50 more years if I'm lucky. It's a blip. It's nothing. You look at the genealogy that is discussed in the beginning of the Bible. It's nothing between Adam and Abraham. All of the things that we go through. It's insignificant to eternity with God, who has created this entire universe that we live in. It's nothing. Take a moment to rest in that this week. So what I want you to remember is that resting in God connects us back with His nature, and it makes us more like Him. Just focus on that this week. Sunday, we're going to do our back-to-school bash. Be here at 2 o'clock. We'll have activities up till about 4:30, and then we've got evening worship, and we'll do a meal from 5 to probably about 7 p.m. or so. At some point Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, Todd needs help moving his sister into her house. He's moving her up here. I'm going to try and see if I can convince him to go ahead and let it be after evening worship, and that just makes it easier for us, but it all just kind of depends. So if we do end up helping his sister move into her house before evening worship, we'll just hang out a little bit longer after evening worship to have our fun and games and such. Next week we don't have a youth activity, but Friday, didn't get on there. Saturday, the 19th. Next Saturday, the 19th, is going to be a Teenage Christian Conference. Okay, that's in Denver City. It starts at 12 o'clock their time, which means that's 11 o'clock our time. So we need to leave about 7:30 so we can get down there and eat lunch before the thing starts. Okay, so
Is it just like a Saturday thing?
just a Saturday. We'll be back Saturday night. So if you can go, hit me up and let me know, and we'll work out transportation and such.
You said the 19th, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where
that is a
at?
Saturday, right?
Where is
Yes.
Yes.
It's in Denver City.
What? Isn't that
Oh,
like
you texted it.
I don't know. I've not been here long enough to know. Zach's saying yes, so I'll trust him. So, okay, so yeah, next week, we don't have an activity Sunday specifically because we're going to the conference on Saturday, okay? Give you guys time to rest. See, apply it. Okay, guys, okay, so we talked about this last week, but I know a lot of you guys weren't here. Starting in September, girls, you're gonna be in here with Paige, and she's gonna spend a few weeks talking to you all. Guys, if you have something in particular you want to talk about, let me know. If not, then I've got something we can do. But if you have something that you would like to discuss, we are absolutely capable of doing that. So text me and let me know if you have something you want to talk about. Chocolate cake? I think it's chocolate cake. You got my attention with cake, so no chocolate.
What are the girls talking about?
I don't hit up I don't know. Hit up Paige. She'll know what she's gonna be talking about. So.
Me and Daddy will be at the
Chicken
I'll be
strips.
there. I don't care.
All right. Well, that's it for tonight, guys. Love you. Think you're awesome.
Yes.
Have a great job.
Grandpa.
I dropped out.
You said you only had this.
You won't be able to do that one.
I
Kobe, this is like,
Hey, Aiden,
yeah.
you text Brock and Riley Thompson. Brock and Riley Thompson.
I know.
I know. Yeah. Okay. You guys start hitting them up. Those of you guys that know them, start hitting them up. Send them a text.
Their dad's my dentist, and I told him.
Yeah.
I found him there.
They want
Their dad's
Hey, something's like
Yeah, I tried to. I mean, I'm just talking about.
Long time no see.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes
I really don't.
Where?
I got it right.
So,
Dude.
You don't remember?
I mean, how can you
yeah, I think if we just keep hitting them up, eventually we'll hopefully join us.
We'll take it to that.
Nice.
And you can shoot mine for a minute. You can shoot mine. Oh my goodness, Jay. You can shoot mine. Hold on.
You have to go really fun. Unless you
Oh, I got it. Thanks, Hudson.